Our second reader is the author of Antlers in Space and Other Common Phenomena, an essay collection published by Split Lip Press. Her creative nonfiction has appeared or is forthcoming in places like The Rumpus, Diagram, The Offing, Pank, and many more. A freelance writer and editor, she is currently at work on a book about vestigial organs. She has a surprising amount to say about the appendix. Please put your hands together for Melissa Wiley.
I love those poems, so thank you, Felix. So this is part of an essay from the book Eden was talking about, Antlers in Space. You can buy it on Amazon if you like it. Okay, with the bones. This is how she bakes her body into a souffle. Without access to bowls, eggs, or oven, she crosses her arms into a knot tied with ligaments. She stares at pillows cross-stitched with yellow leaves hardened into lemons. Only the leaves are attacked by butterflies she can't help but notice. The leaves have no trees, while the butterflies are monstrous. The flapping of their wings is deafening inside Dunkin' Donuts, where she sits drinking coffee with milk curdling into the trunk of an elephant. She stares at her pillows for company because she has left her keys in another coat pocket while she went shopping for something to soften the arms of her couches. She went looking for these two pillows alone, it seemed, once she found them, and now she is temporarily homeless. Her husband has also left the apartment and doesn't answer his phone. Even if he did, he would not return from wherever he has gone, not immediately. He would never understand her urgency to bake a souffle today, rather than wait for tomorrow evening. He would hardly register the importance of baking herself with it for flavoring, for sweetness as well as other things, for the pleasure of whipping her bones into cream. And she must do this quickly. Otherwise, she'll be eaten raw and perhaps poison an innocent person who is going hungry. Otherwise, she'll never be prepared and seasoned properly. Rather than being served for a meal's finish, she'll fall victim to birds of prey, which eat anything. Fall victim, she says in a whisper to her own chest cavity, as if being picked apart by birds atop a mountain were a kind of falling, as if this were the same as succumbing to gravity. She must start by finding a way to beat herself, along with however many eggs are listed in the recipe. She must mix them into a froth looking like the crest of a wave lunging toward a quay, one interposed among a row of communist bookstores lining Paris's left bank, she's imagining, where she hurtles herself against a Parisian brick with her mouth agape, as if she were the one doing the devouring instead of the cooking, as if she were a wave consuming sand and towels and other dry things, as if the moistness of her body craved an arid settling somewhere she doesn't speak the language, yet enjoys the vowel slurring all the same. She might begin by flinging herself against the side of a building. She might start by biting her ankles, knotting her skin, twisting her calves behind her shoulder blades, splintering them for even finer breakage, then turning her feet sideways until they split from the sockets of her legs, because she must make herself less heavy. There is no bowl inside her kitchen large enough to contain all her veins, much less all her arteries. She must start by making herself smaller until she fits inside something. As it is, she finds her bones so solid, she must begin by smashing herself against any available walls while no one is looking. She must fold herself backward again and again until her joints start to snap. At present, however, she feels no pain because she is only planning the breakage. She folds her legs neatly onto the pink plastic seat beside which her pillows say nothing. She looks out the window at the beautiful men passing. And after lunging too far forward, trying to see the last of them, she reminds herself she soon will rise over the lip of a ramekin, a ceramic lip she imagines immune from all feeling, while her own lips stay parted, as if before baking itself into what basically amounts to a large French muffin, her body is creating larger openings for air to enter her system. Otherwise, her head will never rise high enough to graze the roof of the oven. Sky is a relative term, she's decided, while looking up at the blueness behind the cloud-shattering white. And she will settle for a gray one. She must, because the oven is aluminum. Were she only living in Tibet instead of Midwestern America, were she only Buddhist instead of nothing, she could deploy a Ragyatha, or breaker of bodies, to chop her bones into smaller pieces while she still breathes, leaving her lungs intact for whatever may qualify as the time being. She could summon a man to detach her hair from the scalp beneath with a knife sharpened for the ritual flame. She could instruct him to break her joints and sever her limbs from her torso the same as he does with those monks who have outlived their dotage, those who keep dying yet may escape further reincarnating, those who may transcend samsara while she keeps being born in different bodies. Almost daily, he separates meat from bone, spreading out the fat of inner thighs among stones silent with knowledge. He is giving the birds their alms, because she has stolen the air from them all along without knowing. As it is, she feels more French than Tibetan, because she has been to France, while she grows dizzy at high altitudes, it seems. So dizzy that while traveling in the Peruvian Andes, she retched all her dinner into a toilet each evening. She also doesn't like climbing, mountains least of all. She prefers baguettes, scarves, and riding bicycles through gardens on flat topography. She prefers French accents and the love they make in movies. The donuts lining the shelves to her left would sicken any Parisian, she thinks. The donuts would force a populace known for being snobbish to turn their lean violin noses up toward the ceiling without playing any music. And she feels herself superior, thinking of the souffle she plans on baking. Superior to the man behind the counter selling donuts filled with jelly, as well as superior to the Tibetan Buddhists busy breaking bodies. She will boil her blood into a reduction, for a sauce, she thinks. She has spent only a few weeks in Paris, a little less in Provence and the Côte d'Azur, where people sunbathe naked in public. Still, this was long enough for her to understand that despite being from Indiana, despite eating corn on the cob all 4 seasons, because some was always kept frozen, she is French by disposition. She is French by virtue of liking to eat and taking her time about it, by luxuriating and wiping her chin with a silk napkin and doing nothing for the remainder of the evening. She is French enough to bake a souffle with a woman inside it. Everything happens for a reason, people are fond of saying. The reason she fell from out her mother's body, she's now prepared to counter if anyone raises a subject, is to rise with the fucking yeast. She knows few facts, but this has made itself apparent. She is too succulent not to make use of the juices that leach from each orifice. She walks to the unisex bathroom as if entering a chateau in Brittany, where she bends her head to lick the sweat pooling in her elbow crease. She runs a finger between her legs, and lifts each breast to moisten the shadow space. She extends her tongue and gives herself a taste. Only until she can leave Dunkin' Donuts without freezing on her doorstep, she cannot begin baking. She half feels she is being delayed on purpose, though she tries not to resent it. She remembers that human bodies once warmed to aching are being devoured by birds in the Himalayas at this moment. She takes full comfort in it. Rather than snacking on herself amid anodyne graffiti on a public toilet, she would like to feel the cut of the spoon through her skin. She would like to experience herself being eaten, to shiver at the spoon steel ablation through her organs. She would like to sense someone else's tongue come alive with the taste of her while she swings on his uvula until she becomes quiet, until she falls down his trachea with a cascade of saliva. She washes her hands and returns to her pillows. She imagines herself being swallowed as her head collapses onto the table in the nest of her elbow. She transfers her heat to its surface, not quite liking to share the warmth of her body with something inanimate, something with no gustatory sensation, no mouth to taste with. Her mom used to wish she'd become a journalist, a vocation that would have made use of her bent for quoting people at random, for talking ad nauseum. Only she never cared for facts, still doesn't. To facts, she has always preferred eating. What little news she bothers reading strikes her as metaphor for appetite alone. The only thing she knows for certain about this world is that we are hungry. Spirits are even hungrier, evidently, though about them journalists write next to nothing. Tibetans believe traditionally that vultures are more than the scavengers they seem. They imagine the birds as dakini, female goddesses inhabiting the upper regions of the atmosphere who fly without feathers, who are held aloft by only their desire for men with the phalluses of gods, presumably. And bird goddesses of the Paleolithic period suit her sensibilities, especially if they grow angry on occasion and start pecking at those still living. The earliest known cave paintings are found in southern France, a place where people appreciate the souffle's airy beauty. At Peshmeral in the mid-Pyrenees, pregnant bird women dance on the cave ceiling. Some anthropologists speculate that these are female shamans of primordial Asian cultures from the Silk Road dating back to the Iron Age, when the world began teeming with weaponry. She reflects on this while still stirring the milk inside her coffee, dissolving the elephant's trunk into an elephant body. The only way to grow wings as a woman these days is to feed yourself to the dakini, to sacrifice your body so they can digest your entrails, and fly for longer and scavenge at a wider ambit, to become part of them while being yourself no longer. All she knows of soufflés, none of which she can now remember eating, is that they collapse shortly after they're done cooking. They collapse within themselves 5 to 10 minutes after being taken from the oven. The meringue cannot sustain its own lightness and quickly deflates, often rupturing. Resourceful cooks fill the cracks with sauce or cream so its insides seem to be bleeding. She is not resourceful, however. She cooks next to nothing, eats out most evenings. She has the time to cook, but none of the equipment. No ramekins, no whisk, no eggs, flour, no sugar, because she pours only milk in her coffee. She has only an empty bowl in her own body. At the moment, there is too much of her, she realizes, to fit inside an oven. Her bones are too strong for her, though they will shrink in time. But it is good, she tells herself, while smelling her wrist perfumed with juniper essence. It is good, it is holy, to be eaten. She says this over and over. Thank you.